Hi guys, welcome back to Sweetie Pie Pets. Today I am so sorry to report that Margo's baby did not make it. I ended up naming him Braveheart because he was so brave and he tried so hard to make it. But in the end, it was just too much for him and little Braveheart's life only lasted 1 week. So some of you guys might wonder what was wrong with him. And the answer is, I really don't know. But I will say this, it's not uncommon for a little puppy to die. It actually happens more frequently than you might think. In fact, I think I had mentioned before, 30% of newborn puppies don't make it. It's a pretty high number, I know, and it is very sad every single time. Usually the cause is something called fading puppy syndrome, which is the name of a broad spectrum of possible causes, which I'm going to talk about in just a bit. But Braveheart really struggled to survive. And what I mean by that is he wasn't growing or developing the way a normal newborn should. His limbs were very scrawny, he struggled to keep weight on, and neurologically he was very uncoordinated. For instance, even a newborn puppy has enough coordination generally to crawl over to its mommy and use its front paws to knead on her, which is an action puppies do to stimulate milk production. I also noticed that his breathing was labored, or at least he wasn't breathing properly. At times he seemed to be gulping his air. So there's a possibility that his lungs weren't functioning properly, or it may have been neurologically related. And then the last problem was he just didn't have a strong sucking reflex, which is something that all puppies are supposed to be born with. They really need that in order to survive. But little Braveheart never could do it. He couldn't latch on and he didn't have enough suction to draw the milk into his mouth. So a lot of these symptoms may have pointed to a neurological problem, or it may have been underdeveloped lungs, or even a liver problem, known as a liver shunt, which is often the case in the smallest puppy, known as the runt of the litter. And really, we'll never know because I'm not going to do an autopsy. So in case any of you guys were wondering, the treatment for fading puppy syndrome is basically just to keep him alive, to keep him hydrated, and keep him warm. And I assure you guys, I did everything I could to keep him going. So the hope is that if he's struggling in these areas, that if you can keep him alive for long enough, he'll eventually sort of outgrow whatever immature system he has, and it will start to develop on its own. His lungs might be mature enough to open up and develop, and if it's a liver shunt issue, he may grow to the point where it opens up and starts draining correctly on its own. So for 1 week, I maintained a vigilant schedule in the hopes that that's what would happen. I was up every hour and a half through the night for feedings. I started with trying to get Braveheart to feed off Mama Margo, but he never really was able to get the coordination going. So immediately I went to plan B, which was to drop or feed him with formula from the vet supply store. And that did work, keeping him alive day to day. The trick is to place a single teeny drip on his tongue and give him time to swallow it. It was a tedious 45-minute routine, but it kept his belly full and it kept him alive. Another thing I did was continuously check for dehydration with a skin test, where you basically pull the skin up on the back of their neck and see if it snaps back, which is how it should. If it doesn't snap back, they're dehydrated. And this is super important because dehydration will kill a puppy long before any other problem. And finally, I kept him warm with a heating pad, which I kept at a low level. And of course, Mama Margo was there to cuddle with him as well. Margo, she's a good mommy. So his body temperature was not a problem. We kept it stable. But unfortunately, after 7 days of maintaining this very strict regimen, I still did not see any progress. Braveheart was definitely not putting on weight. I kept a vigil day and night, and even my family helped out, but in the end it just wasn't meant to be. And of course, it's always really hard to lose a pet. Although he was super young, he was very loved by Mama Margo, Grandma Raina, and Mama Kelly. It really was a team effort. I have had to say goodbye to my sweetie pies over the years, and it's never easy. Back in December, we actually had to say goodbye to our Tina. And Tina was more than a pet. We had granted her humanhood, and watching her fade was very difficult. But we eventually had to make the decision with our trusted veterinarian that her quality of life was no longer, and it was in her best interest to go ahead and say goodbye to her. The whole family was there, and I held her in my arms while we said goodbye. And I know that she felt loved, because being surrounded by her family members was Tina's happy place. And I know that she felt the love and the warmth from all of us, and she just closed her eyes. It's a very personal and a private matter, and at the time I did not want to make a video about Tina's passing because it just sort of felt exploitive. And only now, 9 months later, I finally feel like it's appropriate to share this with you guys, especially in light of what happened with Braveheart. And I'll be totally honest, even now I struggle to know if I should share this news on my channel, but I did, so I had to follow up with you guys. It's really hard. It's never easy to lose one of your sweetie pies, but All of the love and support that you guys have given me in all of your comments really helps a lot. So for that, I really thank you guys so much. And thank you so much for all of your prayers and your concern. It really meant a lot to me, especially during all those sleepless nights. And I have to remind myself all the love and happiness that my families experience when they add sweetie pies to their lives. That is truly priceless, and it makes it all worthwhile. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you next time on Sweetie Pie Pets. Bye-bye.